welcome to another episode of What the Block. And today we're looking at actually a pair of blocks that perform similar function, but they do it very differently. And they're often confused with each other. And we're going to be looking at case block and router block. All right, here we go. So they both compare a value to a number of other values, but the output is different. So case block gives you a single output, right, based on matched condition. Router block actually gives you multiple outputs based on the matched condition. So let's explore both of them one at a time and see what they do. So first, let's look at case block. So let's say you have a condition. That's your input, so some variable, and then you just specify case and what you want the block to output when this case is met. So to demonstrate, let's create add a very simple list component to our page here. Give it a list of values. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4. Not going to be too creative. Let's pick one of them, this, and we'll link the output to the input of the case block, and let's set up our cases. So let's say case is 1, and then the output would be, I don't know, let's just do a physical number. So 2 would be 2. All right. 3 would be 3, and what do I have? 4. So let's do 4 will be 4, and else, meaning nothing is matched, will be I don't know. All right, so move the router out of here. So let's look at how it operates. So as I pick different values, you can see that as it matches the input against one of the cases, it outputs then clause of that case, right? So in this case, 3 matches the word 3. So output is this number 3 coming from here, right? And if I had something here, let's say 5. So if I had something that is not in my case block, then else gets output. So that's fairly straightforward. I don't think this needed much explanation from me, but I figured it's good to see it in the context of a router block. So router block does things a little bit differently. So it starts with the same premise. So let's go ahead and link this value to the condition, and it takes an event. So basically, the purpose of the router block to output an event on one of the case outputs based on the matched condition. So in this case, let's say our event would be a button click. So I'm going to add a quick button. And just so you know this is a button, I'm going to name it button. Right, and we're going to take the click of the button and link it to the event. So it's this event that gets distributed to various outputs based on the condition. So now we can set up our cases. So let's say case 1, right? I don't specify output. That's going to be the event. So I only specify the case. Case 2, 3, and 4. 3, 4, and then of course else. So let's see what happens. I'm going to select single output. What this does is every time condition changes, it'll clear out all the other outputs. If I don't do that, it'll still have the prior event in the output, so it won't be as clear when I demonstrate what's happening here. So let's go ahead and do this. So I'm going to select number 2 and then hit my button. Right, so look what happened. It got the event, right? It matched 2 to case 2, so it output that event on the output associated with the case, with word 2. In this case, it's case 1. Right, so if I choose 3, right? That same event is now being passed to number 3, right? 4, and so on, right? So if I click it again, right, the event is renewed, right, but it keeps getting passed to that, right? And if I choose 5, it goes to else. So where is router used? Well, if you want different things to happen, right, to be triggered based on a condition, case block would not be as useful because case block gives you single output. So you would have to use some sort of if block in front of every, well, let's say you use a state block that you need to execute. And let's say you have 4 different state blocks. I'm not going to set up all 4, but here I'll show you maybe just a single condition. So you have a state block, right? And let's say you want it to be executed when your value is 1 and you click the button. If you try to do with a case block, what do you need to do? Well, you would need to, in addition to this case block, or instead of this case block, you would need to have an if block, right? That basically maybe checks your case output. It says, if it's 2, then we want to take the click from the button, right? Else we don't, and that goes to the invoke, and that will basically trigger this state block if your value here is 2, and then you click the button, right? Now, in comparison, you doing the same with a router, right, means simply doing this, right? So this is our case 2. There you go, right? So meaning if you had more than this, right? So maybe case 1 would be this, case 2 would be 3, right? So you see where I'm going with this, right? So the router block routes an event to one of the outputs based on the matched condition. So it allows you to execute one of multiple possible triggers or blocks that require triggers based on certain condition being met and receiving certain event. So that's your basically primary difference between case and router block. Hopefully now this is clear when you would need to use one versus another one. That's it for this topic, and until next time, I'm Paul Sinenko.